Hi everyone, I'm here with Don Mottolo and I'm going to ask him a few questions about his experience with the course. So if you're ready to start, I will start with the first question.
Okay.
Can you give a brief description of your musical background in general? So what musical genres are you into the most? What musical instruments do you play? And so on.
Okay. Well, I'm mainly a guitarist. I play a little bit of keyboards and bass, and I've been playing for probably since well before you were born. I played professionally for a dozen years, playing in clubs and bars and all sorts of different band situations: pop, rock, soul, funk,
Okay.
popular music, oldies. So in those times, I've ripped apart like many a tune, learning it off the record.
Okay, great. And so, what was your process for developing your musical hearing skills before using use your ear?
With your course specifically, you're saying?
Yeah, before starting my course,
Oh,
what?
before.
Yeah, before.
Well, there's a lot of back history, but I'll shorten it to say that a lot of the learning by ear of the songs I used to learn was working off records and trying to figure out what they were playing. Oftentimes, matching it with what I could, match it to on the guitar.
Okay.
And in retrospect, I thought I was playing by ear, but in fact, it's more like in many guitarists do this. You're doing kind of a hunt and peck, looking for matching notes on your instrument, as opposed to, real playing by ear, as the notes without your instrument.
Okay. And so, yeah, and were there any particular cons related to that process as far as you remember?
Well, it adds those extra steps of trying to find things. So, it slows things down.
Okay, slows things down.
Yeah.
And and maybe also it doesn't allow you uh, to really develop other thought processes that are required to play by ear without the instrument, right? So I imagine that, but if I'm wrong, you can say that I'm wrong.
I would agree with that.
Okay, so um, that's great. And so, what challenges or problems were you experiencing that led you to search for a solution?
Um, I have always been envious of better players that I've worked with who had great ears. And I've always looked at the ideal of being someone who could just play whatever came into their head. And so now that I have a little bit more time on my hands, I'm going back to enjoying trying to improve more in that direction. And at my stage of life, I'm just enjoying creating songs and kind of in between songwriting and improvising on the instrument just for enjoyment.
Great. So, how did you hear about Use Your Ear?
I believe a Facebook ad.
Okay.
Popped up.
And how long had you been looking for a solution before you found this method?
I have actually done a couple of other ear training courses. I've actually, many years ago, I took some ear training classes in university, and which was movable do solfege primarily, but recently I'd taken a couple other courses. I'm not going to mention names, but they were I got something out of each of them, but I was still looking for to improve more. And what resonated with me is your descriptions of hearing more the color in context of in context with the key, because that's so critical. It's
Okay.
And in my own experience, there's been times when I'm playing where I would hear some of that solfege come back to me, as hearing like five going to one, sol, do. And, it was just there versus other methods.
Okay. And basically, you told me in our previous conversation that you wanted to really improve more on this aspect and develop the ability to hear not only maybe 5/1 that's stable to you right now and you have familiarized with it, but also other notes in the same intuitive way, right? It's that, is it true?
Exactly. Trying to get that sense, that feeling of, okay, there's 3 chord,
Okay.
you've got that sensation of it.
Okay, great.
There's no translation, boom, that's it. As long as you know what key you're in,
yeah,
the song, what the chord is.
Yeah. So,
And I was
okay.
going to say, I also like what you're doing with integrating, looking at the chords arpeggiated in melodies, because melodies are typically a combination of scale patterns and arpeggios.
Yeah.
So that's very useful.
Yeah. So extracting the sound of the chord from a group of notes played in sequence, so a melody, a group of notes played in sequence. That's what you're referring to, right?
Right.
So you can then recognize the group of notes quicker, faster, and without thinking a lot, right? So is that the same thing we're talking about, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. You partially asked to this question, but what were the criteria you used when making the decision of subscribing to the course? So was all of these 3 things. So more intuitive connection with chords, with melodies, and then
they say every buying decision is an emotional one, and it's not so much on logic. But like I say, I knew there are instances in my playing and improvising stuff where I would say, hear the 4 chord, and it jump out at me. And when you started discussing, hearing the sensations of the chords and focusing on that as opposed to the interval relationship, that literally
resonated.
Struck a chord.
Okay, great. So how long have you been following this method?
About 6 weeks, I think.
6 weeks? Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, the type of goals you want to accomplish are developing speed, basically, so being able to recognize melodies and chords faster.
Exactly. Yeah.
Are there anything? Yeah.
Because I've learned a lot of songs over the years and have picked up a lot of things by ear. So I can do it, but not at the speed that I want to. So that's what I'm working on.
Okay.
Not there yet, but working on it.
Okay. So, let's see, because you've answered a couple of questions, so I don't want to ask them again. Okay. By following this course, have you noticed any reduced effort or boredom in your training practicing routine? So is it more enjoyable than maybe other types of training, or you think are comparable?
Yeah, I'm a music geek, so I enjoy it. But I've enjoyed other courses as well. There's different. I'm fascinated by how different people can look at those same 12 notes that we all look at and come up with different concepts of how to approach them, how to listen to them, how to look at them.
Okay.
But I, like I say, gravitated towards yours because I knew some things were
resonating.
From past experience, snippets of them worked well.
Okay. So, and sorry, it seems like it's freezing a little bit. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so it will go away probably. So by following this course, have you noticed any improvements in your musical hearing skills and in the direction you wanted to improve?
Yeah, I feel I'm definitely moving in the right direction. Um, I don't think perhaps I may have progressed as some of the other people you've interviewed, and I think that could be a bit from prior baggage of you have to
Yeah.
unlearn some things. So
Yeah, but
that may be hindering things.
I also think that you started on a intermediate level, so it's not you were not a beginner, so it's you were already able to recognize melodies a bit and chords a bit, right? So
Right.
yeah, and that's something to important to notice because of course
Yeah, I had a good grounding in music theory.
you were already kind of good before starting the course. You were able to recognize melodies and chords, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
so
made a living doing it for a dozen years.
so you just wanted to improve your speed, right, and improve the
My abilities.
you're getting more intuitively connected, so more. And okay, so I interrupt you. You were explaining your journey of 1 month and a half with a course.
Um,
What has it helped you achieve in this 1 month and a half?
I've been getting more solid on the what you've referred to as the keys colors, the feeling and sound of the notes. So not so much looking for the interval movement between the previous note, but hearing the note in context with the key.
Yeah.
So you're cutting out that step. In fact, we were just talking about that earlier. Is that when you have to when you identify an interval, you're adding another step.
Yeah.
To finding that next note. You can figure out an interval, then you got to figure, okay, I'm on this note. I got to figure out what's that note that's a perfect fourth down from that.
Yeah, I can play the example. So we did before. So basically, Don was recognizing a chord progression. I'm going to only play the bass line. Was doing something like that. Okay, and he was able to recognize the first three notes almost immediately or very fast by thinking of the scale. So 3, 4, 5, right?
Yeah.
And then he kind of paused a little bit for a few seconds because basically he was thinking, he heard these two notes, the last two notes, as a perfect fourth apart, right? So you can explain it better than me. So you heard the perfect fourth apart, and then
I'm thinking, okay, wait a second, where did I start from? Oh, it was the fifth. Okay, what's fourth down from that is the second. Oh, it's like, so there's all these multiple steps.
Yeah. Whereas if you are trained to do that, and Don is getting better at it, you can just feel the sensation of do, re, do. So the second degree that goes that wants to solve on the one, and that will allow you to not have any thinking, any thought process, additional thought process in order to identify the notes. So that's real life, a real life example of the difference between the two approaches. So I don't know if you have anything to add.
I was just thinking that with Solfege syllables, do, re, mi, I've had kind of like a mixed relationship with them. And I think it's because when I was young, one of the first movies I ever saw was The Sound of Music, and Julie Andrews singing Do, a deer, female deer. And I was thinking, do, re, mi, that's kid stuff. That's not serious. But then again, when I was at, Berkeley, having a couple of semesters of ear training, I totally was, in awe of people who were really good at it. But at the same point, being a young rocker at that time, is like, do re mi sa. But it's really, really helpful. It really establishes that tonal framework.
Okay, that's great. That's great, and that's what allows you to get more intuitively connected and more intuitively able to recognize melodies and chords. So yeah, I understand.
Like in that example, I heard mi fa sol.
Yeah,
but I didn't catch the re part.
Yeah, and
so those three were.
Yeah, and that's the kind of improvement you're searching for. So because you're good, it's not you can recognize it, but it's still there's something that is still a bit slow, and are these kind of thought processes that are getting in the way. And you're not the first student, of course. There are many other students that have the same issue, and it's a common issue because it's the way that interval thinking works. So it's not intuitive. It's more of calculations and understanding and different point of reference. Whereas you can have just only one point of reference, your tonic, and everything else can be perceived in relation to it, and it's not thinking of intervals anymore because you feel the movements, the sensations, and the tension and resolution feelings. And that will allow you to intuitively recognize chords and melodies. So anyway, long story short, let's get to the next question if you don't have anything to add.
No.
Okay. So is there a way in which you can measure or quantify the improvements you had? I mean, it's a very short span of time. You're searching for a very specific thing. So maybe there's not a lot of
yeah, I'm not good with metrics, sorry.
Okay. So next question is, how do you compare this method to the previous methodology you were following in terms of efficiency? So you can think about, has it helped you in developing your speed a bit more, in getting more and get faster at recognizing chords and melodies?
Yes, I don't want to bash anyone else's courses, but I've taken like 3 other pretty good courses. But I would recommend yours over the other ones.
Oh, that's great. So
yeah. And one of the people is very, very, very well known on the internet.
Okay. So the next question are really, have you found the way of thinking suggested by this method as being effective when applied to real music?
Yes, I'm utilizing some of the concepts. For example, now when I'm, say, playing a song that I've played before or learning another song, I'm trying to focus on, say, the feelings of the chords as much as the, as a guitar player, guitar is such a visual instrument that we can fall into just looking at the patterns.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that kept me from developing as much as I could have.
Yeah.
Is I was, you can just memorize the patterns and you're playing music as opposed to like really listening.
Yeah, that's really true. A lot of
levels of listening.
yeah, that's really true. And so do you think the way of thinking suggested by this method is more easily applicable than other methods?
I think so. I think it does require substantial, amount of work, but I think it's worth it.
Okay.
It's well worth it if you're serious. And I think if you're not serious, you wouldn't be watching this far into an interview.
Okay. So, okay. Last question. What has most impressed you about the methodology I suggest?
The integration of melody and harmony.
Okay.
And once again, coming from a guitar player background where you're, say, if you're looking at chord charts, everything looks like it's chunked, as opposed to there's a flow, a mesh of, melody and harmony. And even in schools, it's taught, separately, ear training versus harmony.
Yeah.
Everything is, and it should be a mesh. It should be.
Yeah, because
In
I agree.
context.
I agree, because we hear music, we don't hear just melody or just harmony. We hear all of it. So and we perceive it all together. So that's really true. So if you don't have anything to add, sorry.
Yeah. No, thanks again for a really good course.
Great. Thank you for having let me have this interview with you. So I hope you will get better and better. And I think so. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.